Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another Snap Judgment review. What is a Snap Judgment review if you've never listened before? I think game reviewers nowadays get a little bit too caught up in 100%ing or near completing a game before they review it. They forget what it's like to play it right away. With that, coupled with the fact that I get... so I only do about 5 to 10 hours with the game. That coupled with the fact that I think games are one of the most subjective forms of art. I won't be giving you a score to this review. Instead, I'll be telling you what the game is, the pros and the cons of the game from my point of view, and then whether I personally will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this content. So, what I am reviewing today is Mina the Hollower, and I'm not going to lie, I don't like to do negative reviews. This is not a negative review, but it almost was. I kind of promised I was going to do this one, so yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. But before we get into that, what is Mina the Hollower? It is a retro pixel art style top-down adventure game from Yacht Club, the makers of Shovel Knight. They've changed the perspective, and I would say at first glance, the aesthetic kind of is Castlevania-esque with very animal-like creatures in it. And then you add in a little bit of that kind of Zelda gameplay, but the Zelda doesn't really work because there's no jumping in Zelda, there's no burrowing in Zelda, but the idea of going to a place, collecting an item to get into another place is very reminiscent here. But they boast true open world, which I don't know that I would say that. I would say it's closer to a top-down Metroidvania, but what you are is you're this mouse, Mina the Hollower. Hollower being just a burrowing sort of character. You end up sailing to this island where an old friend named Lionel has these 5 spark generators that you helped create that gave the entire island power. They have gone down. They're no longer in operation. He's called upon you to come figure out how to get them working again, basically. So you're like a super maintenance person. Right off the bat, you're on this boat. You are given the choice of 3 different weapons. You pick your first weapon, then you fight a nasty kraken, and it kills you, most likely, and then you crash into the island. And this kind of gives you a feel of this game. It is hard. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong, Shovel Knight was not easy. I don't know, I feel like the side-scrolling platforming is a little bit easier than the top-down four-direction platforming, but we'll get into that later. Either way, this game is extremely hard, extremely unforgiving in the beginning. There are a lot of games out there that like to make the game easy in the beginning and harder as you go along, and there's other games that make it easier and you earn... make it easier as you go along because you earn that ease. This is definitely one of the latter. It is not easy in the beginning. Things are incredibly unforgiving. They deal lots of damage to you. It is harder to kill them. And what happens throughout the course of the game is as you kill things, you also collect bones from different places like jugs and other breakable items, but you also get a certain amount from every enemy you kill. Once those bones get to a certain level, you do what's called a bone up, which is basically this game's kind of version of leveling up, and you can increase your attack permanently, your defense permanently, your sidearm damage permanently, which is like your extra weapon, or you can save those bones as bone shards, which the bones are everything. They're not just the way you level up, but they're also the way you purchase things in the game, which I found very interesting in this. It's kind of weird when you play a game with stores and whatnot where the currency is the experience points, and that's what this is. You are definitely like weighing whether you want to buy the cool shiny new item you found in the store or whether you want to actually just get an overall increase to your attack or defense, or other useful items. You will be able to save in your burrows, which you'll find every so often. They'll also recover your health and give you what's called plasma vials. So the way you heal in this game is a bit Dark Souls-y. I would not call this game a Souls-like, but the healing is very reminiscent of it. You have these flasks, a certain number of them. They're kind of a yellow bar on your red bar. As you get hurt, you slowly lose that damage, but then as you deal damage, you build up your yellow bar. That's not health you have, but it's health you can recover should you drink a plasma vial, which is a very interesting and incredibly frustrating mechanic. Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to watch the footage and you're going to watch me die like 1,000 times in this game. This game, right off the bat, I died probably 55 times before I did anything. Anywhere I went, it was just death after death after death. I did stick with it, and I am feeling very positive about that game, but I am just over my 10 hours, and that's something we're going to go into later in the cons, I think. That being said, yeah, that's the crux of the game. You kind of move into a new biome. You move through that biome. It usually has like 2 or 3 areas from what I can see. And you eventually reach the spark generator right after fighting some big, horrible, nasty boss. And then you have to do another kind of bossy thing on the spark generator to get that running. And then once you get that running, you move on kind of to the next area, and it reveals a little bit more of the story. Much like all the other Shovel Knight games, there's all these little extras to find, little secrets to find. I've already found a bunch of them. There's little cool things, like one of the shopkeepers is just this huge giant thing. And when you walk by the shop, sometimes the hand will just shoot out, grab you, and drag you in and be like, buy something, which I thought was really cool. There's other cool things like that all over the game. Little attention to detail that Yacht Club does really, really well. And they didn't shy away from it in this one. I love the Castlevania aesthetic. I always have. And I really wanted to get this game. Like, this was going to be my Yacht Club game. And it still kind of is. I never played the Shovel Knights. I have seen them played through thanks to via the internet. I can see how difficult they are. I would still rate this a little bit higher on the difficulty chart, and we'll get into that. But that's basically the game. You move from point A to point B, you buy things to make your life easier, you collect things, you find secrets that give you more trinkets that make yourself easier, to make your life a little bit easier, and that's the game. So let's go ahead and get into the pros and the cons. So I always like to go positive first. The pro. Right off the bat, the music. I love good retro music. Like Mega Man, Castlevania, this invokes all of that. The swamp biome music is phenomenal. It has all these kind of very New Orleans ba-da-da-ba-da-ba-da kind of tones to it, which is amazing. Then I've just moved into the crypt area, and that has kind of a much more classical, low, old school Castlevania, rock symphony kind of feel to it, and they're just all awesome. I mean, they're old school retro, but you never get sick of the music, which is impressive in this, because every area you go to, it's just on a loop, and you're going to spend a lot of time in those areas because of, as previously mentioned, death. So yeah. The sense of satisfaction. Look, I am not a huge guy when it comes to the sense of satisfaction. I don't really play a game for the sense of satisfaction. I play it for the aesthetic and the story sometimes, but I also play it for the world and how I can interact with it and the cool mechanics. That being said, there have been a couple of games, handful of games over the year that I really played for that sense of satisfaction. Absalom, Sifu, a few that were much more challenging, but I brought myself to a point where I had to learn. This game is in that category in the fact that, yes, it's challenging. It will literally make you pull your hair out. It is that old punch your knee because you died Nintendo feeling. But when you do beat the stuff and you do get a little bit further, it's a huge deal. I'm going to dovetail this into my first con, honestly, which is the difficulty. So here's the thing. Here's the up and down of the difficulty in Mina the Hollower. And that is that you die so many times that if you don't stick with it, you miss out on a lot of game. And I don't like that. I think it should be slightly easier, especially in the beginning. And I know that that's a hot take. I know that a lot of people out there are going to disagree with me, and that's completely fine. We can have disagreements. It's totally cool. But On the other side, on the flip side of that, when you do finally kind of break a wall down that has been pushing you down the entire time, it opens up tons of new sections to explore. It is a really nice, cool feeling that, oh, I can play this game a little bit more. And I'm going to tell you right now, there have at least been two times in this game where I'm like, I don't think this is the game for me. I don't think I can keep playing this. But I pushed through and managed to break the wall that was stopping me, and then I got through. The first wall was I kept going into an enemy barracks to try and rescue this character, and I died hundreds of thousands, to the point where I was gonna quit. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna grind. I actually had to grind this game. I spent an hour and a half just grinding levels in this game so I could do more damage, have more defense, so that I could get through the section that I needed to get through. And when I did get through that section and I brought that character back, she unlocked a bunch of stuff for use at my base, and it kind of opened up a world that I was able to, okay, now I can do these things. Then I moved into my first biome. I was doing good, and then I hit this wall where, like, I felt like the game had turned the difficulty to 12 on me. And I just kept dying in the same exact spot over and over and over and over and over again. You're gonna see the spot in here, and that was very, very difficult to kind of move past and get through. Once I did, though, I was like, okay, now I can move. Okay, now I'm starting to get this. And that's what this game does. It definitely gives you that sense of satisfaction, but at a cost of a really high difficulty and a lot of frustration. Which brings me to kind of the crux of a Snap Judgment review, and that is, are you going to enjoy this in the first 5 hours? I don't know if you are. I really don't. I think this is this is kind of a strange one on my list because, like I said, just over the 10 hours, and I'm enjoying it. It has definitely kept me coming back, and even when I was dying, there was something like a Rubik's Cube feel, like something in the back of my brain that was like, I have to figure out how to get farther in that game, which that might just be me, though. That might not be you. So, like, it's kind of a tricky situation. I'm not going to say that the first 5 hours of this game were fun for me. They were not. I felt like I was wasting my time for a good portion of it. I definitely feel more accomplished now, and I feel like I'm very much enjoying it, but those first 5 hours were brutal on me. And I'm not that bad at games. I mean, I'm not no pro gamer, but I've been gaming for 30 years. I'm not awful. So it was very, very tricky. One other kind I want to talk about is the top-down pixel kind of thing. Look, I love that version of this game. I like it, but the slight problem with it is distancing gets real weird. Let me explain. There's a boss that you fight in the swamp. Comes out of the water. It almost looks like this giant evil snowman with a crocodile head. It takes up like half the room, right? Like it's very hard to get it on the screen. That's how big it is. But you can't walk behind it. Even though it would be standing up straight, somehow if I walk up, its head hits me because that pixel is covering it. So, like, there's moments like that in this game where you're looking at the top down and it wouldn't quite make sense with where your character is and you're getting hurt. Other systems of that, other downsides of that include some of the jumping, some of the, spacing is real tricky to kind of like get your brain around because of that. And I found that a little bit frustrating. I don't like it when when I get killed by a game because there's a thing there that I feel like shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Like an invisible thing. Like I had to learn that I can't walk around behind this bad guy because of the bad guy's model. But like the only way to learn that is to die, basically. And I didn't like that. And there's a couple of bad guys like that where like you wouldn't necessarily be in their space, but their pixel is kind of there, so you can do whatever. There's another good example. I'm trying to explain this. It's very hard to put into words. There's a character that like was jumping, and his jump, because he's coming kind of across the screen. His jump moves him, his pixel kind of covers up the place in the ground because you're looking kind of down on it. But that place in the ground wouldn't actually be covered by his jump. I can damage him from there. So like his jump is somehow also moving him laterally, which doesn't really make sense. There's a lot of little things like that I don't love. They can also work to your advantage. I was able to kill that guy a lot easier because I could trap him behind a stump, and every time he'd jump to try and get beyond the stump, I could hit him even though I wasn't anywhere near him. So like stuff like that gets a little bit tricky with this kind of view. I don't think they should change it. I'm just trying to warn you as a player. Alright, so whether or not I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, I am. I don't know if I'll see this one through, but there is something Rubik's Cube in the back of my brain that brings me back to this thing, like a puzzle I can't solve anytime I hit a wall. Plus, again, once you get over that initial early hump and the difficulty, you start to get trinkets and level ups, bone ups, you will actually find the game a little bit easier, which I do appreciate in a way. I feel like games are always like, let's hold their hand at the beginning because we don't want them to quit, and then let's make it harder once they understand the systems, which is respectable too. But if you're looking at it from a realty standpoint, like a realism standpoint, the person who's unexperienced is going to have a harder time doing something than the person who's been doing it. I think that that's one nice thing about this game is it rewards you continuing to play it. It rewards you finding things, and it rewards that by making things a little bit easier as you get on. Another good example of that is you can buy other weapons to use. Like I said, the initial 3 weapons you can start with are daggers, a whip, and a hammer. I went with the whip. I had a very hard time doing anything with it. When I got enough bones, I bought the casket, which is like a shield that you use, and the shield made the game possible. Like, I could not do anything until I got that shield. Like, it was just a string of deaths. So like, there's also a mechanic in it where like you have a spark energy, and if you die, you lose that spark. The bad guy will collect the spark, or it'll float around in a map if you fall off a cliff. If you die again, you lose all your bones, all your progress to the next level, as well as your currency. Or you can go get that spark back. That makes it really hard in the beginning because you have to commit to the same... Like, if you get in over your head, you can't change direction and go a different way. You have to go back that way and get that spark, or you're going to lose all your bones. Or you have to grind until you get a bone up so that you're at a 0 anyway. It's a really weird, tricky dichotomy there. But later on, I purchased an extra spark, so now I have 2 sparks, so that makes things a lot easier. Like, I'm not losing my bones every 10 seconds. So like, I think that there's a lot of I know this review has been all over the map, and I apologize for that. This game is very hard for me because, like I said, it was a very negative experience in the beginning, and it has turned into a very positive experience now, so it's very tricky to say. So yes, I'm going to stick with it. Are you going to enjoy it in the first 5 hours? I don't know. It's very hard, and it's very punishing. But if you do stick with it, I do think there is a better game under that, and I do think it rewards you by making it easier as you go along, and that gives you this sense of accomplishment. Other than another game that might hold your hand in the beginning and then just turns the difficulty up, and you don't really feel that. So I really feel like the stuff I've collected have made the game easier, which is nice because I don't see a lot of games like that. Alright, that's it. I'm sorry this review was all over the place. Like I said, I don't love to do controversial reviews. I don't like, if I have an extremely negative experience with a game, often I won't even review it just because I don't like to put that kind of negativity out there unless it's like a AAA game and it deserves it. But I don't like to shit on indies. So this one was tricky because it was going to be negative and kind of turned into a positive. But again, the point of a Snap Judgment review is you're going to enjoy it right away. I don't know. I hope I have helped you come to a decision as to whether you will or not. Either way, you can let me know in the comments below if I got it wrong. Hopefully you won't be too angry. Like I said, the reviews are just an opinion. I'm not trying to piss anybody off. But you can also join our Discord and influence everything we have from there. As long as you guys keep watching and listening, I'll keep making them.